Coming up on Cronkite News, a bill advancing in the state legislature could change mask requirements in schools. What that could mean for students here in the Valley.
Plus, we take a look at the mysterious population growth of monarch butterflies, how one conservation society is hoping for a comeback.
And later on Break It Down, we look into the role women of color play in the music industry.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Kelly Donahue.
And I'm Atri Mineshny. Thank you for joining us. The Arizona House passed a bill yesterday that would ban schools from requiring masks on their campuses. However, some local school districts have been lifting mask mandates on their own. Cronkite News reporter Molly McBride has the full update.
Multiple districts in the Valley are removing mask mandates as COVID cases in Arizona decrease. Some local experts are on board with their decisions, but the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease says it may be too soon.
It is risky. It is risky. You may get away with it very well. It's possible you're going to get away with it, but you do have a risk when you pull back if you have a certain dynamic of infection that you'll have a rebound.
Despite Fauci's warning, William Humble, the executive director of the Arizona Public Health Association, says he's reserving his criticism for schools who never implemented mask mandates.
I have no problem with school districts deciding to drop their mask requirements after spring break because, look, they're recognizing that the data is showing the community spread is dropping.
In the Valley, Washington Elementary, Scottsdale Unified, and Kyrene School District have removed masking requirements. Tempe Unified High School District said in a statement that masks will be optional beginning February 22nd. And Madison Elementary says it's not a matter of if they will make masks optional, but when. Many Arizona school districts have left their mask mandates in place. As for the bill, it's now on its way to the Senate. In the newsroom, Molly McBride, Cronkite News.
Hospitals in Arizona are still crowded despite a decrease in patients with COVID-19. This comes after a steady decline in COVID infections across the state in recent weeks. The Arizona Department of Health Services reports that as of yesterday, 21% of inpatient beds are currently being used by COVID-19 patients, while 25% of ICU beds are in use for patients with COVID. Those numbers are down following the surge this winter. Health experts credit the crowding at hospitals to several reasons, in addition to the significant amount of people hospitalized with COVID-19.
Some good news in the fight against COVID-19. One model estimates that around 73% of Americans are immune to the Omicron variant, at least for now. This comes after the surge in COVID-19 infections fueled by the Omicron variant this winter that likely left many people with some form of protection against the virus. The estimates take into account things like vaccination status and any recent infections with COVID-19. The model suggests that as much as 80% of Americans could be immune to the Omicron variant by the middle of next month. A recent study shows that 3.7 million more kids are in poverty without the monthly child tax credit. Columbia University found that from December 2021 to January 2022, the monthly child poverty rates increased from 12.1% to 17%. That is the highest rate seen since the end of 2020. Black and Latino children experience even higher increases in poverty, with up to a 7% change. Researchers say that the longer the monthly CTC payments were in place, the more families it helped. If the child tax credit payments aren't renewed by Congress, the child poverty rate is expected to continue to rise throughout the rest of the year.
Since 1990, the monarch butterfly population has steadily decreased. Now they're making a comeback that is giving conservation societies hope for the future.
Travel back in time.
What you get from Washington Week that you will not get anywhere else are the best and the brightest reporters from different media companies, and they're able to have a real conversation about things that are happening in Washington and around the country. But it's also a show about issues that are relevant to different communities.
How do you think that...
As the moderator, I feel this deep responsibility to bring in those other perspectives so that people understand how power and politics impact their daily lives.
Friday nights at 7 on Arizona PBS.
The city of Tempe is setting up their own version of a lost and found in an effort to reconnect more residents with their lost personal items. Tempe's Homeless Solutions Task Force is planning a new storage program aimed to reunite people with items they leave behind in the city's parks and public spaces. Tempe City Council approved $25,000 for the program last year. The city is currently seeking a vendor who will be able to log, transport, and store found items.
After years of the dwindling population, monarch butterflies may be making a comeback. The Xerces Society reported more than 200,000 monarch butterflies across the West this winter. This is compared to the less than 2,000 that were reported last winter. Kyrene Marroquin takes us to a butterfly grove in California to explain this fluctuation in population.
Here in San Luis Obispo, butterflies fly around and enjoy basking in the sun as their time at the grove comes to an end. Back in early fall of last year, the monarch butterflies migrated here from the west side of the Rocky Mountains to escape the cold. Next, they'll head back up north as far as Canada. While this is a yearly migration, the population sizes have been very different every year.
We used to have monarchs in the over 1 million for this western population. Here at the Grove, it was maybe a quarter of that just for our site. But over the years, it's just been a pretty steady decline.
But recently, things took a turn for the better. This year, 22,000 monarchs were counted at the Pismo Beach Butterfly Grove, compared to a mere 200 last year. Historically, butterflies are known to have fluctuating populations. According to the Western monarch count, in 2001, there were over 20,000 Western monarchs reported. Then the population significantly dropped in 2002, and in the following year, it went back up to over 20,000 again. Still, SLAC says that the overall pattern that they've been seeing is alarming. Pesticides are one of the many threats that monarchs face, as they decimate milkweed, their primary food source and the only plant that monarchs lay their eggs on. But there's another thing that's endangering monarchs.
The biggest threat monarchs have is habitat loss. There's a lot of groves up and down the coast, but historically there were a lot more.
Gail Morris, coordinator of the Southwest Monarch Study in Arizona, says that humans are a huge reason why this is happening.
We are encroaching on their habitat, and as a result of that, we need to be able to help all of wildlife through this troubled time.
Humans may be a big threat to monarchs, but Morris says that we can also be their biggest helpers.
If we have a small backyard, plant a couple milkweeds, plant flowers that we know monarchs like to visit. And like I mentioned before, look in the neighboring trees. Are there some trees here for shade? Do we have it? All within our neighborhoods.
People can also volunteer with organizations like the Southwest Monarch Study to help plant milkweeds across the country. In the last 2 years, the organization planted nearly 7,000 milkweed plants in Arizona with the help of volunteers. And that's helping the population.
The interesting thing is there were other monarchs around the area. People found them in their backyards in Northern California. We saw a lot of them here in Arizona.
So much is at stake, and the future of monarch butterflies is unknown. For now, they will continue fighting for their existence, one day at a time. In San Luis Obispo, Kyrene Marroquin, Cronkite News.
Miller and SLAC both hope that this increase in population will encourage people to help protect this species.
It's going to be a great weekend to get outside and enjoy the warm weather before a cool down next week. Luke Vickery joins us from the Cronkite News Weather Center with more.
Good afternoon, Arizona. Looking at the futurecast right now, you can see a large nor'easter right here associated with this large cold front. That's going to move its way out pretty soon. We're actually going to see another system up here develop towards the Chicago area that could end up bringing a significant amount of snowfall to that northeastern area, but that's quickly going to move out. And over here in Arizona, we'll just be stuck with a little bit of cloud cover. Now, as we move into the big picture, low pressure is centered over the northwest, and that's going to drop down low enough to actually bring us a little bit of warm temperatures as southerly flow comes into our area, but that's quickly going to move out as we have a massive low pressure system begin to move into our area towards the valley, but it's not quite going to pick up enough moisture to really give us any significant precipitation, but you could see a little bit of snow even in the higher terrain, but that's going to move its way out into the northeast, and it's going to shift its way out really quick, actually. Now, looking at our evening planner, a little more towards the present, 69 degrees at 6 p.m., and then we're going to move into some jacket-type weather, 58 degrees at 10 p.m. But starting Saturday, our temperatures are actually going to raise a little bit, 79 in Phoenix, 54 up towards the higher terrain, and then 77 down in Tucson. Now, looking at our 8-day forecast, Monday is going to see when we really get a little bit of shift in our weather here. Breezier conditions, dropping our temperatures down to 73 degrees. And the peak of those colder temperatures is actually going to be Wednesday, when that low pressure system really gets down, hovering over the valley, bringing us a little bit of chance of precipitation. And then through Saturday, we'll end the week with 74 degrees as our high. In the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Luke Vickery.
I'm Hayden Weber. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. No Hall of Fame entry for Barry Bonds. Hear why his supporters say the former ASU slugger deserves to be in Cooperstown.
Your favorite member benefit is getting better and bigger.
This is wonderful.
Over the next year, Passport is adding new shows and doubling the number of episodes for you to stream.
They give us all that they've got.
From your favorite cooking and travel series.
Even the stairs are breathtaking.
To history specials and award-winning documentaries. Better and bigger.
That really is the fun part.
Stream on any device with Passport on the PBS Video app.
The Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication's Phoenix Sports Bureau provides students with hands-on learning experiences and opportunities in sports journalism. From covering local high schools, colleges, and the pros, students get the opportunity to go live from our Facebook shows covering local, collegiate, and pro sports in the Valley. From digital reporting, broadcast, social media, and producing, there's opportunities for all. For more, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Hayden Weber, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. It was just announced this afternoon MLB has canceled spring training games through March 4th due to the lockout. But there are still plenty of stories in baseball right now, like Barry Bonds not making it into the Hall of Fame in his final year on the ballot. It's been a hot debate, but Cronkite News reporter Michael Garaffa found plenty of support for the former Sun Devil among his peers.
Former Arizona State Sun Devil and 7-time MVP Barry Bonds is the all-time MLB home run leader with 762 career home runs. Bonds also holds the record for the most home runs hit in a single season at 73. Yet for the 10th and final year, the slugger was denied a spot in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Many voters cited steroid speculation for banning Bonds, but Bob Nightingale of USA Today believes that isn't a good enough excuse.
We probably elected 6 or 7 guys with strong steroid suspicions in the past 10 years.
It was clear from even his ASU days that Bonds was a special player.
Everybody knew he was the best player in the country, and that he was going to be the #1 draft pick or number 2 draft pick, but everybody knew how special he was.
Obviously, I support Barry. He's a Sun Devil here, and we want to see him there. The guy dominated his era. Whatever happened during that era, everybody can speculate on that.
Former Major League reliever Joe Borowski spent 12 years in the majors and faced Bonds 6 times throughout his career, even managing to strike him out twice.
I took a little pride in, guess what? I was playing against guys who were using stuff to help their performance, and I was still able to perform at a high level against them.
The biggest argument for those that believe Bonds deserves it are his career numbers before the steroid speculation.
If you look back at his career, he was hitting over 300. He was stealing a ton of bases. He was the first 400 guy. So he was definitely a Hall of Famer before that.
He would have been in the Hall of Fame if he had stopped playing in 99, 2000.
While Bonds' time on the ballot is up, he could still make it into the Hall of Fame through what's called the Today's Game ballot in December. In Phoenix, Michael Garaffa, Cronkite News.
It's All-Star Weekend in the NBA, and Suns head coach Monty Williams makes his first appearance as a coach heading up Team LeBron. Always humble, Williams says his kids might be more excited about it than him.
Wasn't something that was on my bucket list as an athlete or as a coach. I just never even thought about it, to be honest with you. And I'm just grateful that I get a chance, and my family is so excited.
ASU men's basketball got a big win over Oregon last night, but things are still going downhill for the football team as quarterback Jaden Daniels enters the transfer portal. Though Daniels had a bumpy 2021 season, completing just 65% of his passes, losing the veteran quarterback is a blow to the program. Herm Edwards has already lost 5 coaches among the NCAA investigation into recruiting violations. That's all for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Autria.
If you think you're worthy to joust and host the title of the night, Medieval Times Dinner and Tournament is hosting an open casting call in the Valley. The Dinner Theater is looking to cast up to 10 knights to compete in live audience events from the Middle Ages, including games, jousting, sword fighting, and horseback riding. Candidates are not required to have any prior experience in horse riding or combat experience and will be enrolled in a paid training program. The open casting call will be held from March 2nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Scottsdale Castle.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org. We break